good day everyone, especially to you Ma'am Argente. Good day Ma'am. So we are the group 1, so we will be discussing the chapter 1 in EDUC 6, which is all about society as foundation of school and schooling. So when we say foundation, so it provides support for something. So it is a support. It means that it is one of the reason why this thing happened or why this thing created. But before that, so get to know our team. So by the way, I am Irene Rose O. Curada, the first presenter. So the next will be Miss Julie Michelle K. Martinez and Miss Jessa Coranes. So and of course, to be guided in this discussion, so I want you to have pay attention in the house rules. So first is listen to the teachers or discussants when he or she speaks. So I want you to listen during the discussion because at the end of the discussion, so there will be a corresponding activity. Next is raise your right hand for permission to speak. So if you have any idea or if you have any question, just raise your right hand or just message us if you have any questions regarding to the topic. Next is respect one another. So this is very important. So we need to respect one another as we are in a one class. Next, lastly is have fun and enjoy learning. So and of course, here are the intended learning outcomes in this discussion. First is discuss the relationship between the society and schools. Second, know and analyze how the society influences the education process. And lastly, form meaningful interconnections of the different sociological philosophies and concepts to school function. So to formally start the discussion, so here is the introduction. So the sociology of education starts with the perspective or theories that provide a framework to search for the questions and knowledge about systems of education. So a theoretical perspective helps to answer the different questions to be inquired by researchers and how it is being organized to answer queries, as it provides a new perspective on education for future teachers, administrators, and policymakers. So when we say a theoretical perspective, so it is a structural framework, explanations or tool that has been tested and evaluated over time. So meaning to say, the concept of sociology education undergoes a research, discussions, and debate before it provides a framework to search for the questions and knowledge about systems of educations. And when there is if meron ng theoretical perspective, so it helps to answer the different questions be inquired by the researchers, and it provides a new perspective on educations for future teachers, administrators, and policy makers. Next is, so what is the relationship of society and school? So in your own idea, what is the relationship of society and school? So we all know society, so it is a group of people who live in a definable community and share the same cultures. Then also school, so it is an institution for education children. So it is a place for teaching and learning. So what is the relationship of society and school? So the relationship of the society and school is that schools are a reflections of the broader society in which they are situated and play a vital role in shaping and influencing the values, knowledge, skills, and socializations of individuals. So schools are special institutions which strives for the fulfillment of the desires of society. And then school is nothing but a reflections of the needs of society. Yes, it is true, school is nothing because without people, hindi mabubuo yung school. Kasi paano na, kasi walang mga kabataan na pupunta sa school, diba? So school is composed of many children. So school is nothing but a reflections of the needs of society. So the school reflects the society and the society reflects the school. So moving on, so let's now proceed to the sociology and education. sociology and education. So, education is a lifelong learning process which needs a thorough attention on how education policies work and affect those who are being educated. So it has many questions that could only be answered by a sociologist who understand education. So why is that education is a lifelong learning process? It's because education is a lifelong learning process because learning does not stop even when you leave across classroom or finish the college, because as you go through in your life, so learning does not stop because you can still learn even in your family, even with your friends or your workmates when you have a job. So it has many questions that could only be answered by a sociologist who understand education. So by the way, sociologists, so they are the one who study the social life, the social change, and the social causes and consequences of the human behavior. Then when we say education, so there is a method of teaching and learning. So sociologists are mistaken to be people who could tell what is right from wrong or what is good from the bad. So they are actually more into determining the possible outcomes of actions, how things work, how policies affect others, and more than bring about new perspectives and innovations which are very essential in education. So sometimes sociologists they are mistaken that pinagkakamalan sila na ang mga taong sociologist ay nakakapagsabi sila kung ano yung tama sa mali at kung ano yung masama sa kung ano yung masama sa hindi. But sociologists, they are actually more into determining the possible outcomes of actions. So how things work, so paano gumagana yung mga bagay, then how policies affect others, kung paano yung mga patakaran nakakaapekto sa iba or sa mga tao, and more than bring about new perspectives and innovations which are very essential in education. So roles of sociologists in the community. So what are those roles of the sociologists in the community? So first is they interact with people in a community or organizations to understand each individual and win in groups or society. So sociologists examine how individuals act and evolve within the social groups while understanding the causes that influence behavior. So the sociologists interact with people in a community or organizations to examine how individuals act and evolve within the social groups while understanding the causes that influence behavior. And then also, sociologists do various research methods and techniques to gather data and insights about individuals as part of their broader studies. It also stated here that one of the roles of sociologists in the community is they study the organizational structure of a certain society as they look into its institutions, which include politics, economics, health, family, religion, and education. So one of the formal organizations that can be considered is the school. So schools are considered as one of the formal organizations that contribute to the entire society and is interrelated with other institutions such as the family. So the family directly interacts with the school, and both are directly connected with one another through the students. So the associations of the family has an effect on the performance. So the associations of the family to the school has an effect on the performance and success of the students. So yes, it is true when parents are involved in a child's schooling by assisting them with homework, communicating with teachers, and attending all the events and programs at school, so it helps the child to do very well in all the subjects the school. It's because parents' involvement in a child's education is consistently found to be positively associated with a child's academic performance. So kasi nga, if if nararamdaman yun ng mga kabataan na yung parents nila is very supportive sa kanilang pag-aaral, is they also strive harder to do their best in school in order to repay all the hard work of their parents. So ganun yun. So the lifestyle of the people in a society are identified according to their social stratification. So children need educations, but not everyone is privileged to be formally educated in a school setup. So some children are informally educated at their homes by their family, sometimes with peers and other people in their environment. So it's stated here that the lifestyle of the people in the society are identified according to their social stratification. So when we say social stratification, it refers to ranking of people within a society based on factors like wealth, income, education, family background, and power. So the existence within a society of the distinct school strata or groups distinguished by their unequal levels of power, privilege, and prestige. Kung sino yung merong in a higher position, so they access to more resources, so the consumption of patterns, the access to education and opportunity. So it's stated also here that children need educations, but not everyone is privileged to be formally educated in a school setup. So we are very lucky that we have the privilege to be formally educated in a school setup. So because not everyone is privileged to go to school in a formal setting, because some of the major causes, which is the lack of financial, the lack of family support, or the lack of financial, or the poverty. So di ba marami mga kabataan ngayon na hindi nakakapasok sa paaralan because of that major causes. So however, some children are informally educated at their homes by their family, sometimes with peers and other people in their environment. Yes, so kahit yung ibang mga kabataan na kahit hindi sila nakakapasok sa paaralan, is they are still learning at their homes by their family, sa mga pamilya nila, sa mga kuya at ate nila, sometimes with their peers or yung mga kaibigan nila and other people in their environment. It also stated here that media also has a contribution to the educations of individual. So since society is dynamic, so therefore change is inevitable. So changes allow persons to learn how to adjust to the social differences and different groups. So thus learning how to fit within the society. So it's stated here that since society is dynamic, so when we say dynamic, so it is always active or changing. So hindi natin may iwasan na mayroon talagang pagbabago in a society. So and that changes, it allow a person to learn how to adjust to the social differences in the society or the different groups. Like for example, the sexual orientations of the people, the social class, the races, religions, and the ability, and also the different groups, and thus learning how to fit within the society. So they will also learn how to fit within the society, kung paano ibabagay ang kanilang sarili in the society in order to prevent any judgment or problems in a society. So why sociologists are important in school? So bakit mahalaga yung mga sociologists in this school? So as we all know, sociologists, so they are the one who study the social life, the social change, and the social causes and the consequences of the human behavior, or the patterns of the social relationships, mga social interactions, or aspects of the culture associated with everyday life. So bakit mahalaga? So why sociologists are important in school? So it states here that sociologists provide schools with informations and recommendations that may be of great help to the educational system. So from the simplest to the complex interactions between the student and the teacher. So to the interactions between the school and the society. So sociologists, so they provide schools with valuable information through research, analysis, and collaboration. So schools and educational institutions often seek insights from sociologists to improve the policies, practices, and the overall learning environment in their school. So also sociologists, they work closely with educators, school administrators, and the policymakers to ensure that the information they provide is relevant, actionable, and aligned with the school's goals and needs. Also, it states here that the role of education sociologists in the educational system of a country help not just the student with the school, but is extended to the professional world of the students who belong to the institution. So, also, the role of education sociologists is they are not only focuses within the school, within not just the students within the school, but is also extended to the professional world of the students who belong to the institutions. So this topic will be discussed by the next presenter, the Miss Julie Michelle K. Martinez, the theoretical perspective in the sociology of education.
So now we're gonna discuss about the theoretical perspective in the sociology of education. Social scientists have refined theories for a better understanding of the structure of school institutions or of the educational system itself. Among these theories includes the functionalist, conflict, and the symbolic interactionist theory. So what is the functionalist theory? According to Talcott Parson, functionalist theory is the structural functionalism consensus or equilibrium. It focuses on the positive functions performed by the education system, such as creating social solidarity, teaching skills necessary for work, teaching core values, and role allocation. It starts with the assumption that education is an institution to facilitate the stability of society, which emphasizes the interconnectedness by focusing on how each part is influenced by the other. It happens through passing on society's culture, through which a new generation of children acquire the central norms, values, and culture of their society. So how is the functionalist theory relevant or implicated in education? It established a relationship between schools, institutions, and society which must fulfill necessary societal functions to produce stability. Schools' main function is to prepare the students to acquire knowledge and skills and values for future employment. Basic functions of school for socialization includes teaching children to become members of the society, teaching children to become productive members of the society, selection and training of individuals for positions in the society, and promoting change and innovations. So from the word function and functional, the focus of this theory is the education or the educational system helps the learners or the students to develop or nurture their skills to become functional or to serve their purpose in the society. Moving on to the conflict theory, it focuses on the issues of contention, power, and inequality, highlighting the competition focuses on culture as a social product. It questions the functionalist pertaining to the assumptions that schools are ideologically and politically neutral, and that the school functions are based on the merit that each learner has the capacity to efficiently improve his or her own ability to meet the demands and standards of the society. Marx believes that schools gives a false set of ideas and beliefs to students in terms of education quality. many believe that there is inequality and chance of having quality education. So compared to the functionalist theory, conflict theory is the opposite of it. As in functionalist theory, it believes that the education needs or must nurture or develop the students in order for them to become functional or to serve the society or to meet their standards in the society. However, in conflict theory, it states that the child already have their own potential or qualities to nurture on their own in order for them to meet the standards of the society, and that the education or the educational system is already neutral to that. So how is this theory implicated to society, or how is this relevant to education? So the quality education has a set of standards of which is acceptable to be at its best. This gives the notion that inequality in terms of what they may become and could get from their work is also expected. Students are labeled to be achievers and non-achievers according to their status in society. Those who are more privileged to have better resources for learning and achieving more are given what they really need to develop their skills and competence, while those who are not capable or less fortunate ones are not given the right learning opportunities that limit their abilities to what they are only provided with. So, in conflict theory, we also observe during our elementary days that those students that are achievers are nurtured or trained by the school to become their representatives in various competitions and or programs. However, those who are less fortunate are given the less attention which they really needs in order for them to grow. That's what the conflict theory is trying to say. Now, moving on to the symbolic interactionist, its major concept is it focuses on how people share symbols and construct society as a result of their everyday interactions. Examines what teachers and students do in school. They question even the most commonplace, taking for granted actions and interactions, things most people do not question. It uses cultural symbols such as words and nonverbal body language and gestures during interaction. Through this process, people develop a sense of self and create a reality with others. So how is this implicated to education? Interactions between students and teachers help develop a set of expectations for students' performance both in academic subjects and discipline. Asking questions in a social psychological way on the frequent and familiar relationship between school participants is what interactionists do. It is what sociologists of education use as an avenue for the students, teachers, and principals in a school. So, the students learn through interaction how they are different from others based on individual experiences, social, class, and status. So in this theory, the learners able to learn how they are different from one another, how they interact with one another based on the status they have in their society, or how they observe from within self. They can, through education or through the schools, they can observe how teachers interact with teachers, how learners interact with learners, how learners interact with the teachers, and how learners interact with the staffs and or the principals. Through this, the learners will be able to learn how to communicate. To summarize, the difference between the three theories is, in functionalist theory, this school nurture the students or the learners to make them functional, or for them to find out, to make them competent before they serve, or in order for them to serve the society. Now, in conflict theory, the society, its implication to education is that it builds competition between the members of the society, or between the learners or the students, as in this theory, there will be different standards or norms or standards for the students to improve in order for them to reach that standards. In this theory, the students are labeled as achievers and non-achievers. And in the symbolic interactionist, the learners are able to understand how each individuals differ from one another, how they can differentiate themselves from what they can observe from the society they are moving in. Just like how they should interact with the teacher, how they should interact with their co-learners, how they should interact if they were to become a staff, how will they interact with the principal and to the other officials of the school.
So, our next topic is Sociology of Education, Contemporary Theories. So, there are 4 contemporary theories under Sociology of Education. The first one is Cultural Capital, next is Social Capital, third is Code of Theory or Code Theory, and the fourth one is Feminist Theory. So, first we were going to tackle all about Cultural Capital. So the proponent of cultural capital theory is Perry Bourdieu. His concept is about, or it refers to, cultural practices including dress, mannerism, language, patterns, and expression, and also knowledge of the world derived from life experiences such as visits to museums, all of which provide knowledge of class culture of the school. So it refers to a person's cultural competencies. For example, the accent, how you dress, how you speak, or your knowledge about taboos and manners. It is the cultural knowledge that serves as currency that helps us navigate culture and alters our experiences and opportunities available to us. As what's written in the implication to education delved into education's influences on stratification and social class, trying to reconcile the influences of social structures on the subjective experiences of individuals, used by schools to reproduce inequality both in the interactions and in the structure of education. So culture capital. Culture, we can get that culture and capital. So culture, we know it is the belief or the social forms. And capital is the assets that improve life chances. So we can get from the word cultural capital or culture capital that we as individual trying to improve our life chances through our culture, through our social norms. So in cultural capital, there are 3 types: embodied capital, objectified capital, and institutionalized capital. So embodied capital, so it is the knowledge or skills that a person acquires from his or her habits. So embodied, nandun na po siya, naka-attach na po siya sa isang tao through his or her habits. For example, the accents and etiquettes. So we can say that accents, nakukuha po natin yan. Hindi ba? Nakukuha po natin yan sa ating mga magulang. Etiquette. Sila po ang nagtuturo sa atin ng tamang etiquette kung saan we will be using it in the present or in the future. And the second type is objectified capital. So when we say objectified capital, it is the value inherent in objects of culture such as work of arts. So 'di ba? Tayo ay gumagawa ng isang art na which is nakukuha rin natin yan sa ating mga magulang or sa ating kultura. And the next or the third one is institutionalized capital. So the value inherent in being recognized by an alike institution. Just for example, obtaining a Harvard University degree. So, di ba, masasabi natin, other people are being proud of us. We are being recognized because we passed or we obtained a Harvard University degree. So that is what institutionalized capital. So those are the three types of cultural capital. So the next theory is social capital. So the prominent of social capital is James S. Coleman. So in his concept, it refers to the social resources students bring to their education and future involvement in school or community. It results in building of networks and relationships students can use as contacts for future opportunities. And in his implication to education, used to explain the role of schools in reproducing social class. So, makukuha natin sa social capital ni James Coleman that his social capital refers to the network of relationships and acquaintances that a person has developed over life. So, ang social capital, it is the process of building or trusting relationships or something like mutual understandings or shared actions that bring together individuals in a certain communities. This process enables cooperative action since it involves social, so there will be cooperation that generates opportunities or resources through networks or social agency. It is also a mode of social structure that eases the activity of an individual in a structured context. So since it is social, so there is a need of cooperation, not just by one person or by individual, but it could be a group or in a certain community that will enable everyone to fastly develop over life. And the next theory is code theory. So the proponent of this code theory is Basil Bernstein. In his concept, it refers to organizing principles used by members of a social group which reflects and shape the assumptions we hold about our relationship to a certain group. So, in his implication to education, people learn their place in the society by the languages codes they use. The codes come to symbolize social identity. Language codes aids in the social reproduction of class and differences in power. So in this code theory, so for example, a working class person or a working student communicates in restricted code. So as a result of the condition in which they were raised and the socialization process. So there are codes to which an individual or a people will put themselves in that certain place. Like, hindi po nila pinipilit yung sarili nila dahil alam po nila kung saan lang po sila dapat. Sa anong estado lang po sila dapat. So, we can say na there is a differences in power. It uses power since an individual will be trying to put themselves in that certain place because that place is just for her or him. Hindi siya pwedeng pumunta sa isang lugar to which nga alam niya na hindi siya pasok doon. So may code yon. Ang code yan yung tinatawag na kung saan lang siya nakabase, kung saan lang siya dapat nandun. So yan ang code na ginagamit nila in order for the individual to put themselves in a relationship of a group. And the last theory is feminist theory. So the proponent of feminist theory is Harriet Martineau and Jane Addams. So in their concept, with no single feminist theory, feminist theorists echo the need to hear other voices in the education system, in particular women's voices, and to pay more attention to the situation of women. So the implication to education is that lead to the examination of educational policy and how it affected girls, women, their future opportunities. So it refers to the movements for women's right and liberation. So feminists argue that the modern society favors men perspectives and interests, therefore treating women and girls unfairly. So have you ever remembered before, right, that we women don't have the right to go to school, we don't have the right to vote, we merely just became a housewife, the only one that tumutulong sa ating mga asawa sa bahay. Hindi tayo pwedeng lumabas, dapat dun ka lang sa bahay, dahil yan, as a babae, yan lang dapat ang gagawin mo. So that's why in this feminist theory, it focuses on understanding and challenging the social inequalities and injustice. So dapat pantay-pantay tayong lahat. Babae ka man, lalaki ka man, pantay tayo ng karapatan. Dapat kung ikaw makakapag-aral, dapat kaming mga babae pwede ring mag-aral. Kung ang mga lalaki pwedeng manungkulan, kaming mga babae pwede ring manungkulan dahil may karapatan kami at may obligasyon din kami. Dapat pantay-pantay ang babae at ang lalaki. So, arise from gender bias and patriarchy. So, masasabi natin na ang feminist theory nag-focus siya na magkaroon ng gender equality at may justice talaga na ang babae dapat ring may mga karapatan. So, these movements share a common goal, which is to define social rights for women. So, yun na nga sinabi ko, social rights for women. So, this includes seeking to establish equal opportunities for women in education and employment. O, sa employment din, dapat may justice din or may right din ang mga babae. Society and school is linkage. So the linkage that connects society and school is a reflection of the other. It comprises the dynamics of enhancing arts education. So art education, it is a part of society where it was born. Interaction with society would bring about changes in culture and eventually in destiny. So, art education. So, nakukuha natin ang art education kahit dun pa tayo sa ating society or sa bahay natin. Dahil, ang mga magulang natin ang nagtuturo or maskin yung mga kapitbahay natin, mga lolo at lola natin. So, sila ang unang nagtuturo sa atin kung paano mag-drawing or paano mag-appreciate ng isang art. So, art and society and the school. So, when we say school, it is an intuition or institution for educating children. So, any institution of which instruction is given in a particular subject according to the Oxford Dictionary. So, it is a special institution created to serve specific social needs. So, schools are considered as pillars of culture. When the younger generation receives the knowledge and understanding of what an educational institution has accumulated, there is what we call the preservation of the level of civilization. This refers to the process of enculturation in which students are taught to adapt to the dominant cultural patterns of the society. So, sa school or sa paaralan, doon natin nakukuha halos lahat. Dahil doon tayo tinuturuan at tinuhubog ng ating mga teachers. So, sa school, marami tayong makukuha at doon natin na-adapt na dapat tayo ay makisama sa ating mga kaklase. We need to respect our teachers also and also the elders. So, in school, they are the one who mold us to become what we want to be in the future. And society. Society is a group of people living according to a shared culture or a set of social relationships. So society has been defined as the web of social relationships, which is the key to understanding human behavior and the various institutions in it. So web of social relationships. It means that it is through the web of a social relationship because without people's relationship, society cannot exist. It is the main thing to connect the people. So, in the society, we are being connected. Iisa tayo. We have same goal in life. That is to succeed. So, sa society, kahit iba-iba kayo ng mga pinanggalingan, pero may isa kayong mithiin. And there are 3 social relations. First, primary relation. This refers to the mother, father, daughter, son, husband, wife, sister, and brother. So, primary relation. So, ito ang unang relasyon. Kumbaga, wala pang naka-add sa inyo. Hindi pa yun extended like ikaw pa, yung mga kapatid mo, at yung mga magulang mo. In secondary relation, refers to the uncle, aunt, nieces, and nephew. So, sa secondary relation, so, it involves already the extended family. Because, when we say extended family, nandyan na kasi yung aunt mo, nandyan na yung uncle mo, kasi nakabilang na sila sa inyong pamilya. So, it is called as secondary relation. And tertiary relation, so, friends, neighbors, and other relations. So, tertiary relation, so, it is like, your relatives, your friends, they belong, because family kasi ang tawag natin sa kanila. Pero, not the primary one. So, yung friends mo, yung kapitbahay mo, yung mga ka-relatives mo, so they are called to be a tertiary relation. Education is considered as the foundation of a society that helps in the achievement of social prosperity, political constancy, and economic wealth. As a key element of development in any modern society, education is the most significant indicator of a region's overall development as well. So, ang education, ito ang ating susi upang makamit natin ang ating mga goals or mga mithiin. Kaya nga tayo, di ba, nandito tayo na sa tertiary education kung saan malapit na nating makuha yung goal natin, which is to graduate. At pag mag-graduate na po tayo, doon na naman tayo sa makapagtrabaho. So, we are still in the part of education na kung saan nag-aaral tayo upang makatulong sa pamilya, upang magkaroon ng economic wealth, makapag-provide tayo ng pagkain, ng ating mga needs and wants. So, according to French sociologist Emile Durkheim, emphasized the role of the education system in the preservation of society and culture. So, the system is very vital in complex societies where families, as well as the other primary groups, are not yet fully fitted to prepare the young for adulthood, something that is usually expected by the large society. School is an illumination of society rather than of the individual. So, sabi ng isang French sociologist na si Emile Durkheim na ang mga kabataan ay they are not still fully developed na going into an adulthood stage. At makikita naman natin yan ngayon, di ba, na yung mga kabataan ay they are still being dependent to their parents, which according to Emile Durkheim na yung mga kabataan they are not fitted or they are not prepared to be adults. The utmost objective of school and schooling process is to nurture the growth of social. So we really cannot deny the fact that the schools reflect society and the society reflects the school, as the school and society connection enable families to move from setting to setting. So school and society engage parents to improve children's educational outcome. So there are mga varieties of activities that involves the school and the society or community. Just like for example, in school, in times of Brigada Escuela, so the community or the society helps the school to prepare for the upcoming school year. Whereas in the society or in the community, the school also help in a ways like doing research to improve life. Like for example, what we had during our high school days, that in our school we have this GSP, and in order to help the community, we conducted feeding program to listen problems in our community. So there we can say that there is a connection between the both of them. The school and the society or community are both helping each other. So it involves the school and the society partnership. So what school or community can't do alone, they often do together. So in short, nagtutulungan ang school at ang community or society. As what the proverbs goes, it takes a village to raise a child. So partnership allows the whole village to help educate our children. So that is what the linkage of the school and the society. So the next reporter will discuss the influence of society to education process.
The influence of society to education process. So, and I guess this would be the last topic in this lesson. So there are three influences of society to education process. So first is the socio-cultural influence. Second is the economic aspect, and third is the political conditions and its influence. So we are now first going to discuss the socio-cultural influence. It states here that the education process developed from society's social structure, social norms, and value system is the result of human society's goal to transfer surviving cultural content from one generation to the next. So in informal settings, socialization happens when a community interacts with or educates their members about the society's norms and values. Then, according to Pierre Bourdieu, a French sociologist, he viewed education as a perpetrator of the dominant class culture. He called this phenomenon as the cultural reproduction. So, si Pierre Bourdieu, so he is a prominent French sociologist and a theorist. He is known for his work in the social inequality, cultural capital, and the role of education in reproducing the social hierarchy. So, according to him, education does not just transmit knowledge and skills. It also serves as a mechanism for perpetuating the dominant cultures and the social structures of a society. So similarly, according to Paulo Freire, a Brazilian educator, so he observed that the teaching process, method, and language can make a difference between the oppressors and the oppressed. So when we say oppressor. So it is any authority, a group, or a people that uses its power unjustly to keep under control. So when we say also oppressed, it is burdened by abuse of power or authority. So according to Paulo Freire, his observations about the teaching process, method, and language highlight how educations can either reinforce existing power dynamics or challenge them to promote liberation. So his perspective is rooted in his understanding of oppressions and the role of the education in addressing it. So he believed that traditional education is often function as a means of reproducing the social inequalities by imposing knowledge and values that uphold the interest of the dominant class. So that's it. So now let's proceed to the second influence of the society to the education process, which is the economic aspect. So it's stated here that equality of opportunity assumes that society is comprised of a hierarchy with desirable, superior, and inept possessions. So that said, equality of opportunity is a core value of democracy. However, one may agree that it also has become increasingly difficult to obtain in the present economic condition. So there is an obvious growing gap between rich and poor. Yes, it is true that in an economic aspect there is really a huge gap between the rich and poor, because rich people, they can easily access those resources, opportunities, or even in the access of educations. Also those and however those poor people, they have the less access when it comes to the resources, opportunities, or even in the access to education or in the consumption patterns or in consumption goods. Then according to Apple 2004, so certain knowledge, various areas of studies such as professional courses in engineering and the medical, the MCA and MPA, and other applied courses are higher in demand in the Asian context. Yes, the courses like engineering, the medical, or any medical courses or other applied courses are very demand in the Asian country. So this proves that the economy of the society greatly influences educational and human development in any region. So yes, having a developed economy is really have a great influence to the education system or the educational and the human development in any region, because a developed economy is one with a sustained economic growth, a security, the high per capita income, and advanced technological infrastructure. Yes, because for example, this society is a very developed economy, has a developed economy. So in that way, they can provide courses like engineering or other medical courses. They can provide technology. They can provide advanced technology that the students can be able to use throughout in their studies, and also the human development in and also the development of human, because growing businesses and creating job increases our revenue. It puts people to work, which puts money in their pockets, which helps them build a better life. So that's the in the economic aspect. Then also, according to Karl Marx, so a German philosopher and a political theorist, considered structure for getting power and dominance in society. So furthermore, the educational system also plays a key part in legitimizing control of the dominant section of the society. So Karl Marx, so he analyzed how institutions, including education, play in maintaining and legitimizing the power dynamics of a capitalist society. So he introduced the concept of ideology. So do you remember what ideology which is proposed by which Karl Marx introduced. So ideology, so which refers to the set of ideas, beliefs, and values that serve the interest of the ruling class. So Karl Marx, he also seen education as an ideological apparatus that serves to reproduce and perpetuate the existing social order. So he argued that the educational system under capitalism often promotes the values, norms, and worldviews. So this is achieved through various means such as the curriculum, the teaching methods, and even the selections of knowledge, and is deemed valuable. So that is according to Karl Marx about in the economic aspect. So the last influence of the society education process is the political conditions and its influence. So it's stated here that the state's nature, its political parties, along with its ideology and policy, so steer the nature of the education system and its policy in society. So inherent inequality is a key weakness in democratic states. So even if they practice ideas of the democratic education development. So the last influence of society to education process is the political conditions and its influence. So it's stated here that the state's nature, its political parties, along with its ideology and policy, so steer the nature of education system and its policy in society. So inherent inequality is a key weakness in democratic states. So even if they practice ideas of the democratic education development. So on the contrary, socialist states infuse their own political ideology rather than employing the secular education despite asserting for a common education system. So an ideal example of this situation is the communist regime of USSR and the Nazi socialist principle of Germany. So what is the communist regime of USSR and the Nazi socialist principle of Germany? So in 1933, under the Nazi German education system, so schools were designed to influence children and get them unquestioningly accept the Nazi doctrine. So similarly, the USSR after 1917 so used education to carry on with their communist agenda. So educational institutions then have become places of political socializations rather than for the search of the truth. So that's the influence society to educational process in the political conditions and its influence. So I guess that would be the end of our presentation. So thank you for listening. So I hope that you learned something from our discussion. So together with my team, Ms. Julie Michelle K. Martinez and Ms. Jesa Coranes. So thank you for listening. God bless.